Nothing is so deceptive as what seems self-evident. The world-famous detective novelist Sir Arthur Conan Doyle uses such an expression in his Sherlock Holmes series. So what does it mean? It is possible to infer the following meaning from this sentence. Any event that appears to be real should not be taken as real, but should be approached by the scepticism. Especially today, this is how we approach the statements of the Russian official sources, because many manipulative reports about the war in which the Russian army is involved have been reportedly shared with the public by the Russian sources. Russian sources seems to be telling a new lie. Recently, Russian sources have shared with the public the latest developments regarding a death within the borders of the Russian Federation. The subject of this death was the president of one of Russia's largest oil companies. However, this issue is not only related to the death of the president, because he was the third president of the organization to lose his life since the war started. So what's going on? Let's take a look at the developments together. As the Pioneer team, we are trying to convey to you every developments related to Russia-Ukraine war. You can use the super thanks button under the video to support my team, which is working hard behind the scenes. I also read all your comments. Please continue to express your opinions about our content in the comments. Let's start if you're ready. The Pioneer reports. According to reports, Vladimir Nekrasov, the chairman of the board of one of Russia's largest gas companies, had died of acute heart failure, according to initial medical reports. But was it really so? In other words, did Nekrasov really die of heart failure? This question came to everyone's mind after the news spread, because Nekrasov was the third president of the oil company who lost his life. Moreover, it is another striking detail that all of these deceased presidents have lost their lives since the first day of the Russia-Ukraine war. All three presidents have lost their lives since February 2022, when the Russian-Ukrainian war began. This is where doubts arise. We think that there are some unseen developments here, because it seems that the president of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin, and the three presidents who lost their lives do not have any problems, so it was known to be absent. However, it is rumored that some discussions may have occurred behind the scenes. Let's look at it from this point of view. You are an official of an institution. The decision taken by the head of a state of the country wherein the institution is located create obstacles for your institution to make a profit. These countries you trade with impose sanctions on your country due to the errors and president decisions of the head of states. In this case, your profits will decrease significantly. What would you do in such a situation, especially if you live in a country like the Russian Federation? In this scenario, you naturally become an oligarch. Oligarchs are very important for the Russian state. Therefore, the government usually has good relations with the oligarchs. In this scenario, you can use these relationships to try to persuade the head of a state to reverse his wrong decisions. Sane statements usually interpret such as events very well and think about the interest of the country. If your suggestions are important for the interest of the country, they will be listened to. However, this is not the case in Russia. In Russia, the scenario works more in line with the thesis that whatever Putin says is right. For this reason, some experts are raising the possibility that Nekrasov and Putin may have fallen out. We have mentioned this many times before. Even Yevgeny Prigozhin, the leader of the Wagner Group, who recently died, was one of these examples. He was portrayed as a great hero during the time that he unquestioningly followed the Putin's orders. However, when he started to oppose Putin's orders, he was declared as a traitor. First, he was purged, then he died in the mysterious plane crash. From this point of view, Nekrasov's death is quite remarkable. Experts are of the opinion that Nekrasov was assassinated as a result of disagreement based on these events. As we stated in the beginning of our report, nothing is as deceptive as it's obvious. According to the Russian official channels, Nekrasov died of acute heart failure. This is the self-evident truth, but what is the fact? We will continue to follow this issue. I think we will be able to learn more about this issue in the coming days, but this is enough for now. We do not want to convey too much unconfirmed information. Another noteworthy point is the Storm Z Battalion of a Special Operation Unit serving in the Russian army. The Storm Z Battalion was normally designed as a unit to be formed by the elite Russian soldiers. In other words, the main reason for the emergence of the unit was to undertake critical tasks in the invasion attempt launched by the Russian army against Ukraine. The Wagner Group, on the other hand, consisted mostly of the prisoners and fighters who fought in the areas where it was really difficult to survive. There is developments regarding the Wagner Group. However, we will discuss these developments in a moment. According to recent reports, the Storm Z is no longer an elite unit. As you know, the Wagner Group has left the front line. There is now a need for more soldiers who will lose their lives in the area where the Ukrainian army is attacking or defending. For this reason, the Russian army also disturbed the structure of the Storm Z battalion. As you know, the losses of the Russian army are quite high. The most well-known methods of compensating for these losses is to assign prisoners as soldiers. Many prisoners convicted in prison in the Russian Federation are released on the conditions of fighting in the Russian army. In a way, prisoners are offered a choice between death and captivity. And most prisoners choose self-defense, even at the cost of death. In recent days, British intelligence have published critical data. Prisoners are no longer serving in the Wagner, so they are assigned to the Storm Z battalion. According to British intelligence reports, the Storm Z battalion has now turned into a prison battalion. A large number of Russian prisoners have begun to serve in the Storm Z battalion. This will greatly reduce the influence of the Storm Z battalion on the front line. This will give the Ukrainian army a critical advantage. It is also possible to draw the following conclusion about this issue. The Russian army is destroying its own troops with its own hands. In other words, the defeat is starting from within seems to ruin the Russian army. So, will this happen? We will wait and see. As we mentioned earlier, there is developments regarding the Wagner Group. Recently, the Russian army carried out an offensive near Avdiivka. The offensive failed. The Ukrainian army destroyed a large number of Russian soldiers. Ukrainian troops carrying out control activities in the region encountered a very interesting image. The Wagner flag was among the destroyed Russian soldiers. The Wagner Group did not report that it returned to the front line. However, the Russian army may be using this as a tactic. It is possible to say the following: the Russian army is in need of the flag of the Wagner Group. We will report more developments in the next report. So what do you think? Do you think the Wagner Group is really back? Could Nekrasov's death be the assassination? How do you think about the transformation of the Storm Z battalion into a prison battalion? Let me know in the comments. I read and care about all your comments.